Okay, so what we have is a normalized rate of manual devaluation around 3%. So essentially, this puts us, if we are with $1 million today, in 33 years, this money will be worth 10K. So essentially, it's very important for you to establish priorities around how you are placing the money that you have, because what you have for granted is that in 33 years, what you have today will be only 1%. So it could be more or less because this is a normalized rate, which means there will be some years in which you can have a bigger depreciation and some years where you can have less. But the numbers should just be around this value, around like this time frame, which means essentially that any money that you do today won't matter in 33 years, because how much depreciated it will be if you stay with the money on the bank or as cash. So if you have just a small amount of money, let's say you have 1,000, right? If you invest 1,000, okay, and you can invest in different ways, I usually say that, like, actually try to make people learn how to invest is not the best strategy, because it's very intensive how much work people have to do to actually be able to manage their money invested on an efficient way. It takes a lot of time. Like, for example, in my first 10 months that I was studying, I actually calculated how much time I put in terms of effort, comparing, for example, to my graduation on university that I almost finished. And essentially, what I've done around this space in 10 months was more than three times what I've done on university in 4 years. So that makes more than 12 years in 10 months in terms of how much information I was able to acquire. Acquire and interpret, understand, get to know, whatever. So essentially, it's a lot of time for people to actually be able to do this by themselves. So that's why I started my fund. I started my fund because this way I manage my money on a more optimal way, and at the same time, I can allow people that don't know how to do it to actually have their money to grow as well, instead of having their money being depreciated over time. So if you have 1,000 euros as savings that you decide to invest, if that grows, let's say 10% per year, you will have in 10 years 100% growth, which is not a lot, but it's still better than having the money on the bank, right? And the thing is, with a lot lower amount of money compared, for example, to 1 million, that will be worth 10K in 33 years, you can get to the same 10K with a lot less money today, as long as you invest the money. And you can grow, let's say, 10% per year, or 30%, 20%. It depends, because it's also normalized, and it also depends which structure of investment you want to make. So a lot of people just decide to go for the comfortable investments, which is investing in companies that are very well established and are very unlikely to go bankrupt, like the most popular companies you have in the stock market. You can use those, which kind of grants you security and some growth, but doesn't really do the same growth as you can do on startups, for example. So in my case, I just make the numbers, and like I wanted to maximize my potential on the markets, and I really didn't care about having this potential to be fulfilled in like a really short time frame, but at the same time you're likely to have your money on the market and it could be actually valuing the same through a long period of time. So this is what happens on startups, is like startups, before they start to actually be known and like develop themselves as companies and take off, their price on the market is volatile, but usually just going up and down, which means you can have years where your money is not really moving anywhere. But I just invest using fundamental structures of the company, what they have inside. How are they growing? The revenues, if they're expanding operations, if they're doing well, if their product is relevant on the market. As long as these metrics are just being fulfilled over time, I know that sooner or later, those companies will shoot up a lot. And that how much it shoots up, it just largely offsets the growth that you can have on the mega caps today. So you just don't know when it's going to happen. It's likely to be on the bull run. So it's when the economy is being boosted, okay, and you have a good economy environment. But you don't know exactly when. It could start today. It could start in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. We never know. So the important thing is for you to do this structure of optimizing what you're doing.